Hey, Leafs fam, what is up? This is NJ. Glad to be with you. The Leafs Convo podcast is rocking and rolling. Erica Howe of the CWHL Clarkson Cup winning Markham Thunder will join us momentarily. First, I wanted to let you know that tomorrow's podcast, Tuesday's podcast, we're about 24 hours away from maybe the biggest show that we've ever done. It's a special Ask Mike edition of the podcast as he gets ready to head to the Lone Star State for the NHL entry draft this Friday and Saturday. If you have any questions for us, are you listening on YouTube? Hashtag capital letters Ask Mike in the comments section. On social media, at I Am Sportsheart, at Mike in Buffalo, at the Leafs Convo, hashtag Ask Mike. Get your Leafs questions in now. In the meantime, Erica Howe is standing by. She and I are going to get into some good conversation about women's hockey, the CWHL and its rival league, and the big championship game in which the Thunder won the Clarkson Cup in overtime, taking down a team from China. It's true. Erica Howe's ready to go. I'm ready to go. I know you're ready to go. Let's Leafs Convo right now. And here she is, CWHL champion, Clarkson Cup winner, Erica Howe. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Glad to have you on the Leafs Convo. You've probably won plenty of championships internationally, won lots of titles as you were coming up as a young player, emerging into the star you are today. But winning professionally for club, what's that like?
I don't know how to really describe it because it's a bunch of girls coming together who want to be there, who want to work hard, who just are there for the good of the game, and coming together and being able to win about the against the other best in the world is just an incredible experience. I don't know.
Well, Alex Ovechkin won his Stanley Cup for the first time in, his entire career. So he's probably up in Mongolia celebrating with the natives right now. And, the good thing is he's just showing such an exuberance and a love and a passion for the game that it's kind of drowned out at the professional level sometimes, especially when a lot of these cats just have so many other things on their plate. For you guys, it's been a little while since you finally were anointed CWHL champions. Are you still feeling that championship buzz, or has it worn off now? Are you thinking ahead? Are you thinking back? Where are you?
It hasn't worn off. We're still celebrating, still having a good time. I think, like with Alexander Ovechkin, he worked so hard for so many years, right? And he just couldn't get past the second round. He couldn't get to the finals. And it's that's kind of the same thing with us. I've been on the team for 4 years now. We didn't make the playoffs the first year. We got kicked out by the champions the next 2 years. And it's just it's that climb. Whereas when you have to work so hard for something and you're finally able to achieve it, it just feels so good to celebrate, especially with all your best friends. So still living it up.
Yeah, you should. Erica Howe is our guest with the Markham Thunder, goaltender extraordinaire. 2-1 in overtime. And we'll talk about your opponent and how interesting that scenario was and currently is and will continue to be. But 2-1 in overtime, Erica, just talk to me about the nerves as the full time was concluded and you're thinking about going into the extra frame, knowing that it's a sudden death goal, winner take all. I mean, and then the fact that you guys were able to pull it off. I mean, what's that like? The knots in your stomach, the butterflies. Where were you?
I mean, it was definitely, I was feeling it. That's probably the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. It's on TV. You're feeling the pressure. You got Nora down at the other end for Kunlun standing on her head. But there was a moment going into overtime where the puck was trickling down the ice and Carpenter from Kunlun was going to be the first one. And I skated out to the blue line to play it. And I got there first, thank God. It was maybe a minute left in the game. Shot it away, skated back, and I turned to the bench, and I made eye contact with some of the girls on the bench, and we all broke out in laughter.
Wow.
And that was okay, a minute left. That worked out. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, we got this.
Yeah,
you're nervous. You just try and do your best. But then that moment kind of brought it all in. We're we all feel good. We're loose. We know we can do it. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it could have went pear-shaped, though, had you not I mean, we've seen it before. Had you tripped? Had you tripped? Had you fanned on the puck? Had you lost that race to the puck and then lost the game? Where you are right now would have been a different headspace than where you are actually, right?
Completely. That was one of the moments where it's anything can happen. You can trip. It could just be that day, but it worked out. it kind of brought some comedic relief to the team, and it just like helped us move forward into overtime.
This is the Leafs Convo. Norman James, along with Erica Howe. She is a champion of the CWHL Clarkson Cup winner with the Markham Thunder. And, you know, Erica, I've covered junior hockey for many, many years here in London, Ontario. I've covered women's hockey, the London Devilettes. What a massive program that is. And it continues to spawn and graduate young players who hope to represent not only their communities, but girls and women's hockey internationally, and we know they're going to continue to do so. One of the things, though, is when you see these kids in these tournaments, you know, the grind, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, driving to the location. You know, the parents are drinking coffee, the kids are all hyped up, ready to go on adrenaline, and then they get out there, and it's just love of the game. It's just so much fun, and you even see it from the junior ranks, right? The kids getting drafted out of midget, then they go and play under the bright lights on the big stage for the London Knights. They're still driven by the passion. They're still driven by the zest for the game. You know, just that the innocent quality of it. Now that you're a professional and having come where you've come from, and knowing everything that's incorporated and encompassed in the women's game of hockey as it emerges, and then there are still struggles. Do you still feel that same? Is there still that same innocent quality when you're getting out there? That same passion, that same love for it, or now that you're being compensated, you're having to travel around the world? Has it changed? Has it changed the game for you? Essentially, is what I'm trying to get at.
For me, no. One of the best things about playing in the Canadian Women's Hockey League is we are professionals. We get treated professionally, but half the girls in the league have full-time jobs. So if they didn't want to be there, if they didn't love the game, they wouldn't be there. So especially for Markham this year, I think that's why we were so successful, because every single player on that team wanted to be there. Practices were fun. People were smiling, you know, like you get up, you go to the rink, and you realize what a privilege it is to play. And 10 years ago, the Canadian Women's Hockey League, it wasn't where it was today. And in 10 years, it might be so much a business that maybe you lose some of the happiness. You don't always see the bright side. But right now, it's in such a good place where, like, everyone wants to be there. We have so much fun. We play spike ball and keep up before the games. And it's just like, those are the moments you live for. We enjoy it. We're still kids at heart. And it's just such a good time.
I love to hear that. Erica Howe with Norman James. Honestly, that makes me feel so happy. And my question is, for me personally, is what can I do to help push and promote and cover this league and your game to help push it forward to that next level? And you mentioned that, you know, maybe in 10 years' time, it's grown exponentially and it's become more of a business. And surely the byproducts of it becoming larger and more convoluted is that some of the appeal as a player is kind of worn off a little bit. But you're playing today to have fun, but are you not, every time you get out on the ice, every time you make an appearance, every time you hoist the Clarkson Cup, every time you go and meet the Prime Minister, aren't you thinking of the greater whole, the greater picture in mind too, in growing this league?
For sure. That's always it, right? We want to, it's for the next generation. Right now, we're not getting paid $1 million, but maybe when our kids come around, they might be paid. Everything we do, everything we volunteer for, everything we go to is for that next generation to make it better. We have an incredible CWHL PA that pushes the league to get better every single day. So that's better for the players and it can be better for that next generation. We have a special connection with the fans right now because it's not the NHL. We can go out, talk to fans, spread the word. They tweet, they come to tournaments, they do everything for us. And we're so appreciative of the fans and the people who support the league.
Yeah, why not? It's hockey, right? And there's again, there's a simple quality to it. There's the smile and the excitement and the expectation that as professionals we don't typically, sometimes we don't see it because it becomes so formulaic. It's just another road trip. It's another stop along the way. Another grind in a protracted travel schedule that might have at the end a 2-day reprieve. But for you guys, I mean, you're a lot of you are making the choice to be there because you have other things on your plate. But you are in a lot of ways the forebearers, the pioneers of a league that could grow crazy out of control in a great way at some point, and then you can look back on it and say, hey, I was part of that, or I continue to be part of that. Norman James, along with Erica Howe, she is the champion of the Markham Thunder, CWHL Clarkson Cup winners, beating Kunlun Red Star 2-1 in overtime to take the championship trophy. Now, this is incredible. I'm looking at the standings and the member teams of your league, and you have a team in Boston. You have two teams in China. Just explain to me how this interesting mosaic of teams came together.
Okay. So I think when it all started, because now there's the NWHL, right? They're the National Women's Hockey League, and they are kind of based out of the States. But when the CW started 10, 11 years ago, they needed a place for the U.S. players to play, the national team players. So they kind of started that Boston, got the U.S. involved. And then this year was the first year that the Chinese teams got involved. They are hosting the 2022 Olympics, China is. So they wanted to get their sports going. They want to get their winter teams up to a level that they can compete at the winter games. So China, two teams from China jumped in, and they play in our league. We play them on weekends. We travel to China. It's part of the regular part of our league. That is unbelievable. And you are doing something no NHLers doing, is traveling to China to play regular league games. I mean, aside from a festival or a special event, NHLers don't go to China to play, but you do. So you have that. What is that experience like? Because I'm totally intrigued. I personally, I loved it. You know, you get to travel. It's actually one of the only times of the year where we can be true professional, 100% all in. Because when we're in China, there's no work, there's no school, people aren't off in all different directions. We can have, you know, a sit down hour-long team video, whereas during the week when we're home, we can't necessarily do that as much. And it was just like traveling with your friends. You're going through these experiences. There's a language barrier. You're trying to get your sticks off the bus because you got to go through about 3 borders, and then you just get to go there and play hockey. And there's, I want to say, like 5,000 fans who came out to these games when we were in China. Like their support and the people behind them, and they had like the rules on the scoreboard for the people in the stands. Like it was just a completely different experience. Something I've never done before.
Erica, I can't imagine you were treated poorly over there either. I mean, they must have treated you pretty well.
Oh yeah, we stayed in nice hotels. They were good to us. They thought we were so cool. They're taking pictures. There were Snickers in the locker room, which I was a big fan of.
Oh, like Snickers. So they just candy bars and Snickers, go for it.
Yeah, I think it was a trick. I was loving the candy bars, bringing them home in my backpack, but I don't think it was really successful to helped our play that much.
You throw one in your trap or throw one in your glove, you know?
Yeah.
That would have been a good meme or a good GIF or whatever they have on social media. There's Erica Howe in between goals. You know,
chomping on a Snickers.
You know, hey, you know what? If you end up doing that next year in the league and something happens, good or bad, you can mention that the whole idea originated on the Leafs Convo. So you have the CWHL, and then you have the American counterpart, the American rival, or whatever. How does that change the dynamic of this league? Is there now is there a bit of a struggle to get top-notch players, or do you still feel like the Canadian-based league is the place to be?
I feel the Canadian-based league is the place to be, just because it's been around longer, it's established. But you know, I have friends who play in the NWHL, and they say it's much of the same. You know, it's good. There's good players, good teams. Everyone's competing. Everyone wants to be there. It's just the only problem I have with it is we want all the players in one spot, right? You want all the players to compete against each other, the best players to come together in one league. Because right now there's no crossover between the two leagues. They're talking about having a final game between the two champions, but right now it's watering down the two leagues a bit. You know, if we can get everyone together and in the same spot, we can all move forward in the same direction.
Eric, I don't want to keep you forever. But I want to find out about Justin Trudeau and how he is. Oh my gosh. Everybody in the country has a selfie with JT except for me. So, But I haven't done anything extraordinary like you. But do the Americans just have to have their own league? I don't understand. Why can't it just be one league? Is there some complexity there? Is there some politics?
I think it was you know what? There's good and bad of both leagues. Both leagues are trying to do the same thing, but there's obviously advantages and disadvantages. And I think it was just like they took some of the disadvantage from the CWs and really tried to perfect it in the National Women's Hockey League, but maybe they lose some of it where the CW doesn't pay as much, but maybe they have something else. It's just about, pushing it forward. In the end, I think it's going to be best for everyone because now they're competing. They both want to push forward. They're both pushing each other to do better every single day.
Well, that is a positive, and knowing where women's hockey is and where I believe it should be, there is still a long road to travel, and it's just a matter of if pushing each and creating this kind of women's hockey rivalry is going to journey forward in a positive way, then perhaps maybe this is a good thing in the initial stages, and down the line there can be a reconciliation. Just another thing on that trip to Parliament Hill. So you did meet the Prime Minister.
We did.
That's unbelievable. I mean, you can tell your kids, your grandkids, people you meet throughout the rest of your life that, hey, our championship won us notoriety, it won us fame, it won us the ability to help grow our league, and heck, I got to go to the capital and meet the leader of the country.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, going in there, we weren't sure what to expect because it was the first time ever, and that in itself is a huge accomplishment. Like, this is the first time that the Canadian Women's Hockey League got to go to Parliament and meet the Prime Minister. So, and they treated us so well. Mary Ning is our member of Parliament for Thornhill, Markham area, and she hosted us at a lunch. She took great care of us. She just made us feel so special and so professional. And then we get in a room and we get this informal hangout with Justin Trudeau where he shook everyone's hand. We think when he shook everyone's hand, he learned everyone's name because later on someone asked a question and he was like, "Yeah, Jamie, what's your question?" And we thought it was the most incredible, nice touch we've ever seen in our life. Yeah. And they're just great people who were excited to celebrate us. It just made us feel so good and so professional.
Is he taller in person?
So tall. I didn't expect it at all. He flew in the room. He was tall. He looked great in the jersey. He hoisted the cup. Very handsome guy.
Oh, that's it. So I hear that Donald Trump rescinded your visit to the White House. So
yeah, we're still working on that. We'll see.
Last thing for you. What can people in hockey who are interested in your league and interested in the success and growth of women's hockey, not just across the country. I mean, we've seen it's been a growth sport for such a long time, but to have a place for these young players to ultimately be and go and aspire to be, what do you need in terms of support? Are you looking for more corporate support? Are you looking for more asses in seats? What would be the tonic that would ultimately not cure the ails, but help improve to the point where you can look back and say, you know what, women's hockey now is at a place where it is great at being, and this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to more fans because we have incredible corporate sponsors, we have incredible volunteers, we have really good coaches and staff around the team, but at the end of the day, it's not going to become a business that can sustain itself unless people are there, people are buying jerseys, people are bringing their kids out, That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that Markham Thunder jersey's pretty tight too. I love the look of that thing. The green, and I mean it's a nice. The branding is there. You've got great branding, and the talent. I mean, this isn't women's hockey 1975.
No.
I mean, this is women's hockey. This is the kind of stuff you see at the Olympics. I mean, in terms of styles, in terms of the strategy, game plan, speed. I mean, you must even say to yourself sometimes, you're in these pressure cooker games where winner takes all, and you're like, you know what? If I'm not getting to that puck at a breakneck speed, or if I'm not on my game, we're going to lose, right?
Yeah. And about this year too was a year without the Olympians because for the most part, some of them came back at the end, but the level of hockey was still up from previous years. Every year it's growing, and we have the Olympians in our league. This is where the girls go to play in between the 4 years. So it's it's a great spectator sport. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of interaction. Well,
listen, I'm sure you've had your dealings with Haley Wickenheiser and Megan Augusta and a lot of the legends of the game. And they've imparted knowledge that they gained and that they developed on players like yourself who are right in the thick of it. And at some point down the line, you're going to be tasked with doing the same for the next generation of players coming up. And I'm sure you're all fine and dandy with that. So what's the off season like, and what's the next thing for Erica Howe?
Right now, just training, hanging out. I'm in firefighting school, so getting that done so I can eventually have another career after hockey, and working a lot of camps in summer, because I think it's important to go back and hang out with the kids and see what's going on and talk to them and make those connections. It's important for me to do it, and it's also important for our league to kind of make those connections with younger players so they kind of have something to aspire to.
Hey, listen, as the goalie of the CWHL Clarkson Cup champions, you put out fires in the game of hockey. Why not put out fires in real life too, right?
Exactly. That's the point, and hopefully.
Erica Howe, thank you so much for being on the Leafs Convo. Come back, okay?
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And you can get at Erica Howe on Twitter at ehowitzer27. I love that name because that's our daughter's name, but we spell it Ericka. TMI, I know. Are you ready for maybe the biggest podcast we've ever done? We're like 24 hours away from the Ask Mike special. We're going to try to get all of your pre-draft Leafs questions answered before Mike Augello heads to Big D. Can you imagine Mike Augello lost in the big city of Dallas, Texas? I sense there's trouble brewing. Look out, folks. I mean, we got to get a body cam on this guy, maybe some surveillance, because it's just going to be madness. Mike Augello in Texas, I can't wait for it. Hashtag Ask Mike on Twitter. Hashtag Ask Mike, capital letters, in the comments section of the Leafs Convo podcast YouTube page. We're going to attempt to answer all of your Leafs questions in one big, massive-ass podcast. Get them in right now. You can also reach us on Twitter at IamSportsHeart, at the Leafs Convo, at Mike in Buffalo. Who do you think the Leafs take with the 25th pick in the draft this coming Friday? Do you even care, or is this kind of like the appetizer to the main course July 1st? That's how I kind of feel about it. For Erica Howe and Mike Augello, who's getting ready to take all your questions on the next podcast, I'm Norman James. You've listened to the Leafs Convo. Come back for more real soon. Talk to you later.